deep, the faith of Bilal, Sayyidina Bilal was. And imagine, look at this, to show how just and dignified the Prophet ﷺ was. A man, he was a slave from Habash, all the way from Africa, from Ethiopia, in the biggest gathering of the Arabs. And you know how Arabs were back then. They were very tribalistic. Somebody without any Arabic tribe, black in color, he is a foreigner. And now the Prophet ﷺ gives him what? A status. And he makes him to become a mu'adhin to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at how he transformed the society. It is even for the people who are calling themselves Muslims. Some of the Sahabas, they were Muslims there, but still they had some tendencies of Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah means ignorance. They were still Muslims, but had some elements of Jahiliyyah, ignorance. So the Prophet ﷺ was transforming that society, and he's transforming us, the people of this time. That when we read his seerah, we need to reflect to him. So he appointed Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah, and of course, Sayyidina Bilal always prayed in Jama'ah. He was the mu'adhin, and he prayed behind the Prophet ﷺ, putting him right in, just behind him. A man who had no caliber whatsoever. He had no status in that society. But Rasulullah ﷺ once asked Sayyidina Bilal, Ya Bilal, tell us what's your secret. I've heard that your feet, the sounds of your feet in Jannah. Oh, this is Sayyidina Rasulullah ﷺ is asking Sayyidina Bilal, what is it that you do? For me, I've heard the footsteps of your feet in Jannah. What is that something unique that you're doing? Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah said, Ya Rasulullah, what else do I do? Apart from, I always try to keep my wudu. SubhanAllah. I always try to keep my wudu. And whenever my wudu breaks, I will quickly go and renew my wudu and perform 2 rak'ah. Sallallahu ala al-Habib. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. Whenever Sayyidina Bilal used to walk, he would always walk with wudu. And whenever the wudu breaks, he will renew the wudu and perform 2 rak'ah. Where did he learn this from? And because of this act of worship, Allah Azza wa Jal elevated his maqam, his status, and Rasulullah had his footsteps in Jannah. So this is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam uplifted the human dignity. Not only that, also Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, at the same time, it is acknowledged that the different belief systems were there during his time, where nobody was forced to accept the religion. When Islam had flourished in Medina and the Prophet ﷺ was able to establish a harmonious state, this principle of human rights were put into practice. Evidently, the Prophet ﷺ had advocated this proclamation of rights and put it into practice a few hundred years before the West were enlightened with the idea of human rights. Here we go. We live in the West and they're calling themselves that they're the pioneers of human rights. No. The pioneer of human rights was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, he made sure that children have rights. He made sure that women have rights. He made sure that elderly people, they also deserve to be respected. The young people, they also deserve to be respected. Foreigners deserve to, everything he put Rasulullah in place. The Magna Carta of the United Kingdom here, which was claimed to be one of the earliest documents detailing the basic human rights, were only drawn few hundred years ago, few hundred years later, or after Islam had declared the idea of human dignity and fundamental rights of the human being. So let's go back here in the British soil. Here we are. That they say, well, we respect the human rights. When did this respect of human rights start here? When did it start? Just referring in 60s, 50s and 60s, my brothers. Back in 40s and 30s, women are not even paid wages. Here in the West, they were not even allowed to own properties. Did you know? When you go to the history of women here, and now people come and say, well, the West came to liberate women. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. No, Islam came to liberate women. Let's be realistic. No Muslim should be deceived. No Muslim should be fooled. to go home with this kind of idea that it was the West that liberty. No, we are not saying they haven't done anything good. No, they have done a lot of good things, but they are not the pioneers of human rights. It was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He made sure that in many ahadith and his treatment, he says sallallahu alayhi wasallam, istawsu bin nisa'i khayra. When you meet each other, istawsu. What is the meaning of istawsu? Advise each other, console each other. Bin nisa'i khayra. Whenever you gather and you have something to talk, also always talk about being good and treating well and nice to women. Look at this, is Rasulullah. He said always advise each other to treat women in a good and respectful manner. This is how Rasulullah was. And he himself, when he was asked, when our beloved mother, Sayyida Aisha, radiallahu anha, when she was asked, how were the manners of Rasulullah? How was he treating you? How? Can you explain this? Because you remember, al-Mu'mineen Aisha, she also narrated a lot of hadith. For the people who don't know, they think maybe it was the male Sahabas who narrated the hadith. No. Aisha, Sayyida Aisha, al-Mu'mineen Khadija, and the other wives of the Prophet, they narrated a lot of hadith. They compiled a lot of the behaviors, a lot of the things about it, the aqwal, the sayings and the actions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because they were sahabiyat, they were educated women. So she was asked, radiallahu anha, how was he sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And this is what she said, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. Whatever you see in that mushaf, the mushaf that we have here, that's how he used to treat us. That's how his behaviors were. كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. It was like a Quran walking. It was like a human Quranic person. Subhanallah. Whatever he preached, it is what he was acting upon. So, indirectly, in other sense, our beloved mother is teaching us that Rasulullah was a man of justice. He never mistreated his wife. And we know that Rasulullah had more than one wife. But did he commit justice, al-adala, fairness? Yes, he did that. So, we as Muslims, when we read about the biography of Rasulullah, especially in Shahr Rabi' al-Awwal, in the month that he was born, these are the most important things that we need to really come forward and publicize to the people. And I know some of the brothers in this month, they will have a mahfal, hafalat, a lot of duff and all. Okay, some scholars, they say it's fine, no problem, but what is the message? The message is to have qahwa and to have the duff. Is it the message? No. The first message is to do what? Kathratu salati ala nabi. We are not against that. We have to send salawat abundantly. If this gathering will encourage people to do salawat, mashallah. But what is the takeaway from the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam uplift and preserve human dignity? You should be the ambassador of Islam. If somebody is to ask you, because now Islam has so many haters, we've seen the riots, we have so many haters. Why? And part of this because they don't understand Islam. They think it's just like a religion of fanatics, a religion of some bunch of terrorists. They don't understand the transformation, the social, political and economic transformation that Islam came up with. So we are the ambassadors of Islam. We need to teach them. I don't blame them, honestly speaking. The psychologists, when they ask about, when a child is a bit naughty at home, you know what? They don't put the blame into a child. They blame a father or a mom. They say, he's behaving this way because of dad, because mom and dad. And you'll be shocked. I was shocked when I was reading this. Am I the source of my misbehavior? Of my son or my daughter? Yes. In reality, we are the source of their misbehavior. How? Children we always say, they learn through, they observe me and you. Do we perform salah at home? Do we listen to Quran at home? Do we do sunnah at home? Or we only tell them to do that? These are the two different things. For you to tell your son or your cousin, read Quran, I want to read it, but he has never seen you touching that mushaf. Only Ramadan after Ramadan. Akhi, You want that child to be an obedient child? Well, he can hear you, she can hear you when you talk to your mom, which is his grandmother or his grandfather. You're shouting at your mom. What do you think this son is going to believe? Of course, it's going to trouble you, and it's going to trouble friends at school. So it is us we need to reflect on ourselves. When we learn the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was qudwa. Qudwa means a role model himself. لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. Allah clearly and blatantly explains the Quran. To you, the Prophet ﷺ is uswatun hasana. It's like a mirror, a role model. Khalas, anything you want. Seerah, either way, by respect of Allah, is not like a fairy tale. I always say, think Muslims, we have not understood even fiqh seerah.